In the previous episode of Hermitcraft, we tried a different video editing style. But not this episode. Ah, there it is. Get your dopamine rush. That familiar jingle of joy. It's the intro music. It's back to business as usual. So this is the Hermitcraft mining mesa where some of the land here has been decimated by hermits gathering resources. And that is what I was here to do, but I could not find what I was searching for. In fact, everywhere I went, there were signs that someone else had been here before, taking that precious red sand. Yeah, look at this. Oh, there's a little bit there, but most of the red sand had been taken until I found a little island offshore over here. I just said founded. That is not a proper word. Yes, until I found this little island which was covered top to toe with red sand. So I've been over here gathering the resources for building our main base which goes around the storage area. But before we see what I've been up to back at base, I wanted to show you Cubs Canyon, because I have a theory that this is where all of the red sand has gone. Well, we can see a little bit of it over there. Down here in the canyon though, like this stuff is literally built out of those new iron ore blocks. And then in the canyon there's all these little places like so to go and visit. But let's rock it out of here for a moment, look over our shoulders, and well, now you'll get an idea of where all of that red sand has gone. It has even stretched all the way over to this terrain right next door to the evil Emporium. Yeah, this is one glorious place, and last episode I had to come over here and visit when I wasn't recording because I needed some more ice for those water tunnel projects we were doing underground. And over here, you're going to freeze to death unless you got the boots. Let's just break that and pop out of here. I thought this was super cool. There's this little thing right here, and then it just disappears underground, and then reappears. And then you can come and peruse through the shop. And let's just take a moment to appreciate the glory of Cubfan's Canyon project. This is a phenomenal sight to see in the Minecraft game, and it's all been built by hand. I've also been keeping our maps up to date as well, and you can see the canyon on here has really added some colour to the top part of the map. So all is good with our water streams delivering iron to this building and amethyst over here. But let's see what's off in the distance. Oh, I've been doing some building. And there is still a ways to go. If you remember this from the creative world, there is going to be a big sandstone tower rising up into the sky. But basically, everything else here is now finished. And I owe a big thanks to Good Times with Scar on this one. I was showing him my designs, and he mentioned simplicity and cyan terracotta, and that's when it hit me that we have a lot of detail in other places of this build. For example, the grand entrance here has a fair bit of detail. There's some of it over on the sandstone side over here, but the main sandstone tower and the one over the back here, that's where all of the detail is in this build. And so what Scar suggested is that when you have a lot of detail, you do need some parts of your build just to be simple so that the eye can focus on the detail and not so much on the simpler parts. And so with that advice, I simplified the window designs, just went back to pure shape for this, and then we got a very simple roof. And you might be wondering how those blocks are floating. The way in which it is floating is simply with string that you can kind of see. Look, there you go, there's this hitbox. We're using string to hold these blocks up. And that's because they are concrete powder, which act like sand and fall down if there isn't something underneath to support them. Anyway, that pretty much used up the last of my string supply, and I really need more string. Do you know why? Because of things like this. We've got snow on top of our builds, and the place it affects us most is over in the evil Emporium. So in the past, we put a bunch of string on top of everything over here, but our newer builds, yeah, they're suffering from this problem, right? So we need string, and that means we're going to build a string farm, and this farm is going to probably be unlike any you've seen before. I'm not saying it's going to be amazing or anything, just that it's purely for string. But before we get to that, I thought I would pop my head in here and just show you how this place looks now. It is a mess, it does need further decoration, this project is still far from complete, but look at how tight everything is. The build literally just wraps right around the contraption And I think like one glass block here got replaced and that was it. Otherwise it was a very tight fit. And if you have not seen this contraption before, it is a self-sufficient bone meal farm. We are using the conversion of stone into moss to then convert these items into bone meal, which gets fed back up the top here. So it's a self-sustaining farm. And down below here is where all of the bone meal ends up in these chests. And it's right next door to this room where I've moved our medals over to this side because later in this episode we're going to use this space for a farm we need that's going to be hooked up to this bone meal supply. But for now, we got a string farm to build. So I've been slaving away in the test world trying to come up for a design where we could flush out spiders from an area in which only they can spawn. Although bats can technically spawn in this space as well, but because it's 1.5 tall, creepers and zombies and the like can't spawn here. Now I came up with this genius design where we would have some waterlogged blocks like this, and then very elegantly we could power the pistons at the bottom to remove all of that, and then push them back down again, like so. Problem is, the water goes away, because when you move a waterlogged block, it gets removed. Check this out. There's no water in it anymore. So over here we've got a method where we hold back the water with pistons, and this meant that I got to use the target block because redstone connects to this block and allows you to power the pistons like this, which I thought was nice and efficient as we can put the water directly above and below the target blocks. So if I go down here and power this, we'll change the state of the entire farm. So there's water, that'll push all of the spiders out of it, and then if we power this, all of the water is removed so that spiders can spawn again. And don't even make a comment about how I could have used a bunch of dispensers with water buckets in them. If ever you've tried to do this with a bunch of these in a row, they always mess up. It is guaranteed that something will go wrong. Now when I said that we would build something over here later on in the episode, that's technically true because we're actually going to do this right now. I knew that we needed to build something here. I just forgot that it was a wheat farm for the target blocks, right? We need to make hay bales. So over here we're going to use the bone meal from this project to create a little mini farm. And all of this I've just enjoyed doing in survival. No creative test world. And to be fair, it's pretty simple stuff, but it's worked out extremely well. So around the back here, you'll see that we have an observer clock to power some redstone. If I go and turn this on, you'll see that when you put it through a repeater on the second setting, the blinking here kind of changes, and this is just perfect because up the top here, if we power this piston correctly, it will then allow us to bone meal this thing to full before we harvest it. So if I go stand in the water, which isn't really the best interface, and just hold down right click, if I shimmy this wheat into my inventory, you'll then see it in action. So it just continuously goes up, which means that it's not wasting any bone meal, I believe. Now we will also be able to recycle some of these seeds, and so where this interface is currently left open, I'm hoping I can make it so you can peek into the back and then deposit your seeds somewhere in this space. But now that I think about it, it's more likely you're going to top it up with some bone meal because this thing isn't going to continuously supply this thing if we use it a lot. Now I think the space back here is set up like that so that the water will come over the top. So you would need to be able to look up here to put in your seeds and then put your bone meal in at this level. So restocking this thing at the moment isn't ideal. And I've also just spotted a flaw. Do you see all of those items right there? There's a lot more of them. I picked them up in my inventory though. So where we've aligned the items on the edge of the block, it means that this block stops them from going through this gap into a water stream that will elevate it up the top and send it over here. So I need to find a solution to that as well. Well, I've gotten this bit here figured out nicely. We can sort of step up onto the slab and reach in the barrels at the back to restock all three of these. But then that means that we can't fit in the composters back here due to space constraints. So I think what we're going to do is ditch this, and I did find a solution. It was to use iron bars up the side here. We're going to have it sort of come back around another row of composters, and then we'll have to take bone meal out of that and then bring it up top into the back of these barrels. This project just got so much bigger than I ever anticipated. I mean, look at all these chest monsters here. I've had to expand this thing with another array of composters, so the water streams come around the corner, And then we've got all these comparators hooked up to the hoppers. Luckily, these things have a sort of natural delay as they fill up, so we only need to create a single pulse when it passes through, and thanks to a 4-tick delay, it'll activate that dropper just after the bone meal gets in here, so these will always be empty. Now below it, there are a bunch of water streams that go underneath these stone bricks and then up to the top there. And this is where the water stream just goes around the corner here to reach all of these hoppers. And down the bottom here, I've just set it up like this in case we ever have like tons of bone meal coming into the system. But realistically, like, we know the pace this thing is running at its top speed, which kind of makes me think that this big array right here was sort of pointless. Well, either way, these things will steadily fill up over time now while the farm is running, and I can put my own additional bone meal into here as well. And, you know, there's only one thing left after I tidy up this gap, and that's to get tons and tons of hay so that we can build a spider farm, remember? That's what we're actually doing here. And so I've made all of my hay bales. In fact, if you look over my shoulder, I've added some storage for it. I've converted these into target blocks. We've got our pistons and redstone for the farm, and another thing that we need is tinted glass. So I've gone and raided my supply of amethyst shards, and around the back here I'm just cooking up some sand into glass, and this is a little temporary array because we had to tear down the last one. I've also got my board of projects back here, but it's got me thinking that we have an entrance on that side and this side, and maybe what we can do is carve a space underneath the terrain here and actually build a proper furnace array in this area. So that would then make this corner and this corner also entrances, which could take you to a secondary area. But that will be a project for another day. As you can see, I've used our tinted glass to finish off the axolotl powered glow squid and drowned farm. And is it me or is light coming in over on that side there? Yeah, hoppers let the light through, so I need to change something up to make this farm a little bit more efficient. Anyways, you might have wondered why we're out here looking at this thing. It's because we're also going to build our string farm out here as well. I figured this is a good AFK spot right here. Why don't we hook this up to the spider farm, and then when I stand here to use this farm, we use both at the same time. This crazy area has been ruined by the hermits and their need for sand and sandstone. It's a crazy place to build a crazy obnoxious box in the sky farm. And this is actually not fully complete as of yet, but it lets us see the inside of the farm a little easier with all of those spawning platforms. Everything is put together, and you might notice that it is larger than the previous design I showed you. Yes, that's right, the width of this thing has been extended by 8 blocks, and the height has an additional floor. This means that we have 1,152 spawning spaces in this thing. I've also now finished placing in all of the tinted glass, which has ruined my supply, and put the roof across the middle. And what would you know? We got our first spider spawning on the inside. Let's actually try and just stop ourselves inside of here for a second. Look at this. Aha, are you going to do what I think you're going to do? Yeah, you're going to fall down there. So another thing that we need is some sort of collection area for the string. And there it is, our very first string yielded from this farm. Now I made the width here 5 blocks wide so that there's plenty of room for spiders coming on each side to not knock into each other when they fall down to here. We're not going to use hoppers to collect everything, we're going to use a hopper minecart so we can be a little more efficient here. So I've got a whole bunch of excess achacha wood, and we've got a bit of a theme developing over here. But anyway, this is a platform of half slabs with a whole bunch of rails underneath. A minecart hopper goes around, and then we have an unloading system here. And so while I've been working on this, we have gotten 20 string. Not bad. But this is not the only thing that I've worked on, as you can see, as up above we got some additional pieces of redstone. And this is essentially the final component here. There's a bit more of it on top. This is probably quite obvious as to what it does. It's an EFO hopper clock, so every so often it will create a pulse that goes out to either side, and then the piston pushes the blocks down a block. And it's better to see it from out here, but then all of that redstone that's hitting the target blocks will become unpowered, and those target blocks are powering the piston that holds back the water. You can pretty much see it in action right now. Awesome. And from over here, we have a really good view of that in action. Awesome. You might have seen, though, that there is some stuff going on with the redstone down here. It is just far easier if I show you this in a creative world. It's actually happening right now. So when that event occurs of the piston pushing this down, we kind of need a timer that then pushes it back up like you just saw. Now, while this thing is activated, it means this redstone is unpowered, so it's the timer for the water flushing out across this platform. So everything's about to get a little bit crazy as I have a mod that creates giant spheres. You might remember this from last season. This allows us to visualize where the mobs can spawn and not spawn when we're standing up here. There's actually 2 spheres. It will become obvious as I just drift out of the first one. So that's the range from the AFK point that mobs can't spawn at in, and then everything between that and this one is where they can. So our farm has been built inside of this space, as has the drop area down below. But the closer we are to that farm, it'll actually work more efficiently as long as everything else is sort of lit up. You can see we put all of these torches down the bottom here, but there's caves under the ground that would need lighting up if I were to lower this platform. But if I did, the rates for both this farm and this one would improve. So if I feel like doing some perimeter work, then we could perhaps extend all of this and make our farms even better. And the reason that would improve is because the further away the player is from where the mobs are, they have a higher chance of despawning. So I think we are kind of done in this area for now. I'll obviously do some AFKing to get our hands on some string, but I have been invited to check out something that Doc M has been up to, and I've got to tell you, it sounds kind of fantastic. And let me tell you this, I was a bit taken back by the view as I was approaching here. I was just blown away by this, like a hologram above the Shadow Dome, as Doc calls it.
How you doing?
I'm alright.
All good? All good?
The view from over there just takes the mick with the goat in the sky.
Goat mother is watching the server, man.
It's a beautiful sight. I feel like context is required here.
Oh yeah, context.
You've got a system where, how do we describe it? Like items are linked to your inventory from this hopper, so you can fill this thing up, and then it fills up in your inventory when you're not here.
Yeah, pretty much. You can link an item in any inventory to your own inventory. So whatever container you use, and downstairs I have it set up for sponges now. Ooh. So what the system can do is pretty much you have dry sponge, and it constantly gets refilled, and you have wet sponge, and that gets sucked up if you break it, and dried right away. So here in the barrel,
such a great use, because you always have to like run over to a furnace and cook them.
So pretty much here in the barrel I have the items. One thing though, don't drag them, right? Use your number keys.
Oh, is this going to work for me like right now from here?
Yeah.
Dang. Okay, right. So I'm going to use 9 and 8. So like.
Yeah.
No, I haven't touched them. I'm holding them now.
Yeah. 9 and 8. Okay, so you can try it out. Place some dry sponges somewhere.
Refilled automatically.
Replenishing. So now we can go underwater, and then we can test the full system. I know. Let's dive down a little bit so it refills pretty much.
Got ya.
Yeah. Place a few dry ones, and then it just break the wet ones.
It refills all the way. So I'm not using it properly. But then I break this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It goes in there. So then I guess your redstone knows one extra has gone in and takes it out.
Yeah, it's just an item filter pretty much, right? And it checks. I can show you. The system is really simple, and this way you could rotate infinitely, right? And now the sponges that were just wet go into the furnace array that are downstairs, get dried, and back into the refilling system.
Yeah, I kind of pictured this working with like I would see the amount of sponges go down and then slowly refill, but you've got enough stock so that you've always got a stack of sponges.
Exactly. Here, this hopper that goes into the chest, see, we have a little bit of buffer there, like 60 dry sponges. And then in the chest, you can see every slot is blocked, but this one sponge slot is open, right? And this stack there is the synced stack. And on top here, up on top here, we have the wet sponge coming in. Right, in this hopper.
Got ya.
It's it's just a filter. Like if I throw 5 in, it will always drain to the same amount that there's 1 left. And then, there's just some redstone shenanigans here to distribute everything evenly into the furnaces. That's just, you don't really need that. You could use 1 furnace. And now if you want somebody else to use it, right, you can just go to this barrel and use your number keys to put it back into the barrel.
That's what I got to do next. So I got to put in like
just number key.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you put them in the hotbar first and then in. Yeah.
Got it. So this could be a shop. Now.
Yeah, literally.
Now this barrel isn't special, right? It's the stack of items are special. As long as they're moved around with the number keys, they stay linked.
Yeah, and obviously, like this is in spawn chunks here, right?
Yeah.
You cannot just go somewhere random and have the area not loaded and put them in a chest. It has to be in a loaded area, so chunk loader or whatever. If you store them, if you keep them on you, it also works in other dimensions, everything.
Wow.
And the only thing it breaks is our server restart. Every morning, at 9 when the server goes down.
You got to log on and fix things again, yeah.
Yeah, everything gets unlinked, unfortunately. But if you would not restart the server, if nobody makes a mistake, right, this would be infinitely usable.
That's cool. So you can have it as a shop, though. Like, someone can just come and move the items into their inventory, go do their thing, and then come put them back again. That's so cool.
Everything possible at Octagon.
Yeah. And what's this thing called? I don't think you mentioned the name of it.
That thing, that's the Shadow Dome.
The Shadow Dome. Love it. The Shadow Dome. Doc and his crazy technologies, hey? I was thinking, if I do expand the perimeter here, I'll need to make use of sponges myself to clear out some more of these rivers. Anyways, I was able to AFK overnight. Wow, that was a lot of spiders falling out of the farm then. I've got a feeling this thing is going to be successful. However... Oh, goodness me! I was about to say, but it's broken. We've lost out on drops. Look at this. Look at this. It's been too successful. Oh, and there's also going to be some bones and arrows because occasionally a spider jockey will spawn. Right, well, that has been unbelievably productive. Wow. So with all of that string, my buildings here have been ridden of any of the snow settling on top of them, as well as a few things over in this area, and of course the evil empire is completely rid of snow on top of these buildings now, thanks to the string. And as you might have suspected, with so much string, we're going to be selling it here in the Evil Emporium. We got a full chest of it over here, and target blocks as well. We can also sell these now. And so this episode we have made some fine progress, haven't we? But don't go anywhere just yet. I wanted to take a moment to let you know I've been playing some modded Minecraft, the classic 1.12.2 stone block mod pack. You can see some of the VODs are available here on my second channel already. And the place that I've been streaming this is over here on my Twitch channel. So if you want to catch some modded Minecraft action, there is a link to my Twitch channel. Head over there, hit the follow button, and of course my second channel is linked below if you want to watch those VODs. So yes, I am scratching that itch for some modded Minecraft, but today's episode we did fantastic. We built all that you see behind me. I plan on finishing that in the next one. There is still more to do here in our base, but we will get to it soon, I'm sure. That's it from me this episode of Hermitcraft. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like. Thanks as always for your support, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.